so many fragrances, so many new releases to talk about, and some that are not yet released that I would highly recommend for you to check. So here is my experience at ESXENCE Part 2 and all the new fragrances that I would recommend. I realized after doing Part 1 that I didn't even cover all the brands that I've tested. It was a wild experience, let me tell you. So I decided for this video to talk about fragrances, specifically new releases. Some are already released by the time that I am recording this video, and some are not yet available in the market, and I can't wait to talk about them. Let's start with fragrances that are already released. Starting with Kajal Ruby. This is a cherry fragrance. As I said in my previous video, cherry is still very strong, but I think peach is coming very strong. There is also a tendency to use now banana, but it's not going very well, at least till now. So let's see Kajal Ruby. It's a very sweet, bubblegummy, almost cherry fragrance. Definitely totally different to my benchmark for cherry fragrances, Lost Cherry and also Burning Cherry from Kayali. It is also different to the one from Sospiro that I loved. This is not a cherry pie, there is no almond. It is a very strict syrupy cherry fragrance. And I don't know what is the issue with Kajal. They use this pineapple note in almost every single fragrance that I test from them. Even if it's not listed, I can smell it. Like they are using the same base almost in every single release. So you get the cherry, you get pineapple, you get syrupy, sweet, sugar note. It's excessively tooth-rotting sweet and creamy at the same time. The creaminess I get more in the dry down than in the opening. Overall, it's not a bad fragrance, but it's not my personal favorite when it comes to cherry fragrances. You have also to know that the pineapple note is quite predominant here, and although there is almond in the notes, I don't get any almond at all. It is so sweet that it is not for the faint of heart. This is for strictly gourmand lovers, fruity lovers who want something like extremely syrupy sweet. Yeah, this is for you. And I would say from the fragrances that I've smelled from the brand, it's kind of my favorite one. Kind of, I don't know, because there is Icon, which I tested only once, that was kind of promising, but I didn't test it enough to really have like a final opinion. So that was Ruby from Kajal. Another cherry fragrance is from Plume Impression, and it is Love No Shame. It is a cherry, whipped cream, almond, cocoa fragrance from the notes on Fragrantica, but to my nose it smelled like a little bit of strawberry and oud. Has a little bit of the vibe of Sirène from Fragrance de Bois, but much creamier, less woody. For some reason I got more strawberry than cherry. Like I'm getting cherry, but mostly I'm getting almost like a strawberry note. The same like with Sirène, like the same experience I had with Sirène. Maybe this is why it remembers me of that fragrance. Very beautiful fragrance, creamy, but it's not my favorite one. Like it's not a scent profile that I am looking for when it comes to cherry fragrances, but if you love that scent profile, then definitely check that fragrance. It's very beautiful. When I went there were a lot of people, so I couldn't really test a lot of fragrances. It's one of these brands that I am looking forward to test more of. Let's move on to Maison Mataha. Not only did I have the opportunity to test Brownie Pop and Evasion Bonbon, but I also tested Printemps Blanc, which has been released now, and two other fragrances that will be released in October. Let's talk about Printemps Blanc, which translates to white spring, and it is a very spring-like fragrance. So although all the fragrances that Maison Mataha released till now are all belonging to the Gourmand family, this stands out as more of a floral fragrance. It's a very fresh orange blossom jasmine fragrance with a nice dose of vanilla. It has also a grapefruit note, and honestly the grapefruit note here smells almost candied-like. I know there is no candied grapefruit, I don't think so at least, but I get almost like a candied grapefruit note in it. So it's not totally floral. There is a lot of sweetness in this fragrance. And I have to say, when I first tested, I got more florals. And then when I tested it more, I got a lot of this sweet aspect in it. So it's quite appropriate for the house that till now is distinguished by its gourmand, to release a floral but with a nice gourmandy touch in it. There is also a little bit of a tea note. Honestly, it's not like I am getting tea here, but it has a lot of sweetness. And honestly, from the notes on Fragrantica is not what I smell, let's say. Yes, I smell the florals, I smell the grapefruit, but there is something more to this fragrance that is not listed here. So a little bit, almost like a caramel sweetness in it in the background. So overall, it's a very nice floral and also sweet fragrance. So that was the fragrance that was already released. There are two others that are not released yet, and they are absolutely stunning. So I will talk about them when I arrive to the section where I talk about fragrances that are not released yet. Let's go to Simone Andreoli and his newest release, Tulum Escape Jungle. This is a very unique, green, fresh, minty, a little bit tropical fragrance. It's quite unique because it has a concoction of something green, something creamy tropical, and also beachy. So when you first spray it, you will get a lot of mint. The mint is extremely strong. You get also the lime, and you get a little bit of the salty note. Very green, fresh, invigorating, more masculine. It dries down to totally unisex fragrance, and it has this very margarita vibe to it into opening. The dry down, I get the salt, I get the tea, I get a little bit of a creaminess in the background because there's tiare flower and ylang ylang. So very, very unique, fresh summer fragrance. Simone Andreoli really excels in this category of fragrances. So summer, fresh, tropical fragrances. This is, I would say, what really puts him on the market internationally, and it is the category where he excels the most. I have a buying guide on, by the way, on Simone Andreoli that will be uploaded very soon. I already edited and everything, so stay tuned for it. New releases that I already talked about in my previous video, so I'm not going to stay along with these, but just for those who didn't see the first video, there are two new releases from Sarah Baker that have a nice peachy note. So we have a trilogy of peach now, and it is Pastel Rumors and Rococo Pie. Both are beautiful fragrances. I was actually debating if I should get Rococo Pie instead of Peach Revenge, but at the end I went with Peach Revenge because it's just a little bit more light, not lighter, but fresher in a way, while Rococo Pie is very gourmand, like it is like a pie. Very, very nice fragrance. Pastel Rumors is very unique because it's more of a milky cereal take on this peachy gourmand, and I liked it on paper, but I didn't like it on my skin. But this is to be expected because milky fragrances just do not work for me. But both fragrances are very beautiful peachy fragrances that I would highly recommend. As I said, peach is coming. We have a peach fragrance that has already been released. This is an Italian brand, Cigno Nero, and the fragrance is Estremo Encanto. I have an introduction to the brand on my Instagram account, so definitely follow me there. A very, very unique brand with this beautiful bottle, and the fragrance is quite unique, and it is a fruity tuberose. It has a lot of vanilla, it has peach, it has also some citruses. Very, very unique, beautiful tuberose fragrance. We have also a new release from Frasai, Ajedrez. Again, I talked about it in my previous video. This is more masculine. It is more of this very calming, soothing, lavender, woody, beautiful fragrance for men, inspired by the poses that chess players have when they are playing. So you get the inspiration in this fragrance that is very calming, as I said. A very signature with the nice, elegant, masculine fragrance. I also talked in the last video about El Padrino from Sospiro. This is a sweet tobacco with a boozy touch. So you have a rum note. Very, very interesting and beautiful fragrance if you love sweet tobacco. Definitely have to check that fragrance. Let's talk about a fragrance that I already talked about in my previous video when I talked about Correterno, and it is Hypnorange. And Hypnorange is a beautiful interpretation of an orange tree mixed with tobacco. It's very unique, extremely unique fragrance. The oranges here are almost candy-like. It's very sweet, but yet has this smoky, mysterious aspect to it. Very, very beautiful fragrance. Now let's talk about fragrances that are not released yet. And I have so many fragrances. I have tried so many beautiful fragrances. I can't wait for you to test, guys. Starting with Maison Mataha. Maison Mataha has 2 fragrances that will be released on October. Both are gourmand. First one, again, is a peach fragrance called Pêche Velour, and it is a beautiful peach fragrance. It starts a little bit bright and fresh, but dries down to a creamy, almost coconutty peach. I have no idea about the notes. I am talking only about my experience testing these fragrances. The second one is a beautiful coffee fragrance called Café Délice, and it is this beautiful milky coffee, fluffy coffee in a way that maybe has some hint of cocoa. Very delicious and very beautiful. Both fragrances are amazing. I love them both. Let's move to a beautiful mango fragrance. I've talked about it in my previous video, and it is Golden Hour. This fragrance is a juicy mango. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Unfortunately, they have no samples. All these fragrances that I'm going to talk about now are not yet released, so there were no samples available. I didn't test it on skin, so I can't tell you about performance and that stuff, but first impression, is that a good fragrance. And we also have 2 new fragrances from the house Nectar Olfactif, which I talked about again in my previous video. We have an ambery, soft ambery fragrance called Ambre Cristal, and my favorite, Serrana. Serrana is a beautiful fruity floral fragrance with, again, a beautiful mango note. Loved also that fragrance so much. I love the whole brand, as I said before. Now let's move on to a fragrance that really took my breath away. Beautiful. It's unfortunately masculine, or yeah, it's leaning masculine to my nose at least, and it is from M. Micallef. The fragrance is called Notorious XO, that will be released in October. Beautiful, boozy, sweet, boozy. Oh, it was a breathtaking fragrance and extremely sexy. So I can't wait also for that fragrance to be released and tested on my skin. So maybe in the dry down it will become more unisex, so I can wear it, because oh my god, it's such a good one. So beautiful. Moving on to a fragrance that is in the same vibe as the famous Bianco Latte, like since that fragrance was released, and it seems like we can't get enough. The fragrance that I'm talking about is called Tonka Latte, and it is from Ducita, and it's a very milky vanilla with tonka bean. It isn't the same vibe of Bianco Latte, but they are not identical fragrances. To me, what makes this one a little bit stand out as a first impression was that the tonka bean was more amped up. So it was a little bit almost dusty, powdery. You know, tonka bean has a little bit of this powdery effect, and I really get it in that fragrance. Very delicious, beautiful fragrance. It has also a little bit of cinnamon, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, if you love that DNA, then definitely check that fragrance. Unfortunately, Ducita was one of the brands that I did not test a lot of. I tested maybe 3 fragrances. I have to say the ones that I've smelled I did not like, but that doesn't mean that it is a bad brand. So I am looking forward to test more of this brand. We have also a new release from one of my favorite Italian niche brands, and it is Nobile 1942. The fragrance is called Il Colore del Vento, or the color of the wind, and it's one of these fragrances that take you on a journey. I have to say the beginning I didn't really like it, but in the dry down it was a beautiful fragrance. So I have here the notes actually, so you can have an idea. So we have in the top lemon, coriander, cardamom and black pepper. We have also ginger. I'm translating, this is why it takes me a while. We have in the mid bergamot, champagne, champagne and also caramelized sugar. We have coffee and also sweet notes. In the base we have vanilla, we have amber, we have musk, and we have caramel butter. I don't know what that is, but I mean, it may give you an idea that this fragrance is quite gourmand, quite sweet. It isn't actually. It is sweet in the dry down. Like in the dry down, I get the coffee, I get this a little bit of this caramel sweetness, but I wouldn't categorize this fragrance as a strictly gourmand. As I said, it's one of these fragrances that takes you on a journey, and I can't wait for it to be officially released. I can see that it is available in some stores, but I mean 2 stores, so it must be just released or something. Anyway, I can't wait to fully test it. And finally, another buying guide on Nobile 1942. I already did it 4 times. Like, this is crazy, crazy, crazy. It's one of these brands that every time that I'm ready to film or already filmed the buying guide, they come out with a new release. So I am waiting for this one, and I will definitely do that buying guide. Let's move on to 3 new releases from the house of Musicology. I've tested all the fragrances. Unfortunately, they didn't give me any samples, and this is why I didn't really talk a lot about Musicology, Reine de Saba, or Aphorisms, the new fragrance house from Dominique Robion. Musicology is a brand inspired by music, and they are releasing 3 fragrances. One of them, of course, is a cherry fragrance. I mean, again, it's called Cherry Funk. To me, it's not a bad fragrance, but it really didn't stand out when it comes to cherry fragrances in general. The other one is a beautiful vanilla fragrance called Vanilla Groove. And it is in this vibe of very creamy, cozy vanillas. The third one was quite funny because it was inspired by a song that I actually know, because it's an Arabic song called Haramta Hibbak, and the fragrance is called Oud Melody. And I was so excited when I saw the name and I wanted to test the fragrance, but I did not like it. It was very underwhelming, I have to say, that fragrance. So I would say from the 3 that are going to be released, it's Vanilla Groove that I am looking forward to. Speaking about vanilla, another fragrance that I've talked about in my previous video comes from a beautiful brand called Reserve en Afrique. Spicy vanilla and quite unique. It was something that I've never smelled before, and I like actually spicy vanilla fragrances. So very, very looking forward to test that fragrance once it is released. It will be released in August, by the way. I also have talked in the previous video about 2 new releases from the different company. One is called Love is Coming Chapter 2, which is like a fresh aromatic, very fresh fragrance. I didn't like it much, I have to say. Didn't stand out for me. What stood out is, let me say the name, Azhi Ardara, which is a spicy, woody, ambery fragrance, but in a soft one. So not very dark, not like this very heavy fragrances. No, it's more of a soft, elegant, spicy, woody, ambery fragrance. I am also looking forward to that release. Last fragrance is a big surprise. Do you remember when I talked about Milano Fragranza? I did a buying guide actually. Check the description again if you want to watch it. I mentioned that I am worried about this brand because I know that the owner passed away, or at least the creative director, I don't remember now, and that they are not releasing any new fragrances. And it is absolutely one of my favorite Italian niche houses. Beautiful. I have 2 fragrances from this brand, and I'm so happy to announce that they are coming with a new fragrance, and it's called Neon Lights. If I'm not mistaken, the inspiration is the vibrant discotheque, like nightlife of Milan, and it's a sparkling champagne rose scent. It opens very sparkling, bright, as a bright rose with some champagne note, and in the dry down I got more of a sweet rose, but very unique. I loved this release. This is one of my most anticipated releases. Can't wait for it. So these were all the new releases and also upcoming releases. I hope I didn't forget anything. Now, I have some fragrances to talk about that are not new releases, but I absolutely loved. And I have to tell you about them, guys. Starting with the House of Oman Luxury. I really loved this brand. I don't know why I didn't talk about it in my previous video. I already actually ordered one of the fragrances that I've smelled. I really loved a lot of fragrances that I have tested from this brand. It's definitely very Middle Eastern, so you have to be in love with these kind of ambery, oud, strong fragrances. From the ones that I've tested, again, I'm talking, one was not Middle Eastern, like was not your typical Middle Eastern DNA that I absolutely fall in love. I couldn't stop myself. I continued to smell it and smell it and smell it. And it is Bel Fiori. Is that a beautiful spring fragrance? So beautiful. It has gardenia, it has osmanthus, it has apricot, some honey, but don't think like a very sweet fragrance. And is it a surprise? Who is the perfumer behind that fragrance? Marie Salamani, of course. I mean, she is one of my favorite perfumers. She created a lot of my favorite perfumes. I wanted to show you the fragrance, but unfortunately it has not arrived yet. Now let's move on to kind of a brand that I was always interested in, but I don't know why I never really went and bought the discovery set of it, and it is Paris Monte Carlo. They have an osmanthus fragrance. If I'm not mistaken, it's called Osmanthus Absolute. Oh my god, is that another beautiful, creamy, sweet osmanthus? Ah, it was beautiful. And that fragrance, actually, I have tested twice because I was like, is it really that good? Second day I went and I tested it on my skin and I loved it. I continued to sniff my arm and I was like, I need this one. I need it. So that is again a fragrance that I would definitely add to my collection soon. I kind of also like Cacao Astic. It was very unique. It's one of these fragrances that I need to test more of. I loved both Mandarino di Sicilia and Arancia di Sicilia. And I also really enjoyed, shockingly, a scent profile that I am not really a big fan of, but for some reason I really loved this fragrance, and it is Bois de Oud. It's not overly oudy, it's just this very soft, slightly sweet woody fragrance, but I need to test it again. So Paris Monte Carlo is definitely one of the brands that I need to test. Maybe I will get myself a discovery set or wait until the next year at ESXENCE and test more of their fragrances. Oh, and I almost forgot, there is a Turkish brand that I tested that I actually enjoyed. Again, I didn't test a lot, but what I tested I enjoyed, and it is Ayla. So it's an indie brand because the owner is also the perfumer, and the one that I like that stood out for me is Grande Finale, and it's a sweet tobacco fragrance with vanilla, tonka. I believe there is cinnamon. It's spicy and it smells to me like a mix of Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, Angel Share from Kilian, so mixed together but made fresher and lighter in a way. I have to say it's not a DNA that I didn't smell before, but yet it's unique. Maybe because of this unique mix. I really enjoy this one. And these were all the fragrances, new releases, upcoming fragrances, and also new discoveries. I have a confession actually. What I mentioned in this video and the previous one is like 70%, if I am generous, of everything that I've smelled. Yes, I've tested so many. Some brands I did not mention because they didn't stand out for me. And some brands, I maybe tested 1 or 2 fragrances, so I don't really have an idea. I can't tell you or speak about the brand in general. Anyway, that was it. Tell me in the comments down below which is the fragrance that you are looking forward to test once it is released, and your favorite new release. Looking forward to see your comments. I have enjoyed very much doing this video, and I would love it if you enjoyed this one to go and watch part 1 if you didn't already. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumb up and consider subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you will get notified when I upload any new video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time. Ciao!